Well, Rik Hart, thanks for speaking with Central Coast Newspapers once again. Another big monthly council meeting. You want to say a few things about your audit? It seems to have gone to plan.
Well, good morning, David. And yes, the audit last night we went up. So we had the manager for financial audits from the Audit New South Wales, who managed our audit, come and speak to the council. So they gave a totally no holds barred review of how they'd found the council. And the end result of all of that is that the council had no qualification to its audit, and we met all the local government metrics that we had to. So,
okay, fantastic. I know I'm moving you along here because there's a lot to cover. I'm going to jump to Woy Woy and the Woy Woy car park, which I understand you're in negotiations to sell that to the potential new owners of Deepwater Plaza.
Yes, look, the real outcome of what was decided last night is there's no change. The status quo is going to be maintained. There's two principal occupiers of the car park, which is Transport for New South Wales with 700 spaces, and there's the plaza with 440 odd spaces. The council had an option on purchasing back 220 of those spaces from the plaza, and that puts them in difficulty when they're trying to finance a transfer for the new owners, because clearly it would reduce the amount of car parking space for the plaza should council have elected to pursue its option, which the outcome of all this is we've decided to sell to the plaza, which means they will control 440 spaces. Transport for New South Wales have a lease of the other remaining 700 for a further 42 years.
Okay, and now we jump up to Toukley. There's a boarding house that has been controversial over the last few months, has gone to the Land Environment Court. What's your position about that? Some of our readers complain that they weren't heard.
Well, it went to the Land and Environment Court, and the Land and Environment Court actually has mandated that we go through conciliation with the other party, with the proponent, which we've been through. And through that process, some of the concerns which were around car movements, waste and so on, have been resolved to understand the satisfaction of some of the community members. So at the end of that day, a mediated outcome was achieved, and it moves from there because the Land and Environment dictated that mediation had to take place.
Now on to more macro matters. Development time applications have blown out. It's buried in your very considerable report this month. What's happening there in the DA sector?
Well, it's disappointing on one hand, but it comes from a bit of a history. The first part of our problem came from the fact that combining the two LEPs from the former Wyong and former Gospel Council hadn't been achieved prior to my arrival there, and as soon as David Farmer got there, they've got down to that task and sorted that out. The second thing is the technology software that supports that behind the scenes. That was still two separate systems. That has now been combined into one, so that's an improvement. The other hiccup that's going on at the moment has been the planning portal from the Department of Planning. That has not been easily working, and that's been a problem for all councils, but they've been told, New South Wales Planning Department have been told, fix it or get rid of it, so hopefully that'll be resolved. But the other problem has been the fact is that a lot of staff left during the early days when there were threats of a whole bunch of job closures, and the council was under threat of being actually wound up in a sense, and so people left, and we're still 17 people short that we've got funds for. They're fully funded in the budget, but we're struggling to get staff. But in the last few months we have been processing more DAs than we've been receiving, and bear in mind that we in fact have the highest number of DAs of any council in the state to process.
Right, well, thanks for speaking with Central Coast Newspapers.
Thank you, David. Yeah.
That's good.
Perfect.
Good.